although some refer to it as that other Seth MacFarlane show that isn't Family Guy.
Oh man, classic American Dad.
The animated sitcom American Dad has also, since it began in 2005, amassed a large cult following, and that's no surprise. Who doesn't love proud American Stan Smith and the rest of the show's crazy cast of characters? Characters who are responsible for good, evil, and everything in between. And that's what we're talking about today. What characters are good and which ones are downright evil. We'll be digging in to determine where these characters fall on the moral compass. And don't think that you know it all, because even the kindest and sweetest ones have their shady moments on screen. Which residents of Langley Falls are good, which are bad, and who is the most evil of them all? The answers might surprise you. I'm Kyle with Wicked Binge, and this is American Dad Characters Good to Evil.
Have you pummeled each other into manhood yet?
As usual, we'll be starting with the most good and working our way down. And who would be better off to start with than Jeff Fisher? The most peaceful, relaxed, sweet, and easygoing character in the whole series. The only time that Jeff does anything bad is when he's absolutely unaware of what's happening, which admittedly is quite often.
Oh, is that my fault? I don't know! Are you the guy waving the thing?
He may be a pothead with a masturbation compulsion, but he loves Hayley and is almost too good of a character for the show's cast, and normally ends up being mistreated or taken advantage of.
Jeff, come here, honey.
Jeff has one weakness, apart from his heavy pot smoking, of course, which is his crazy attraction to his mother-in-law, Francine. Despite this fact, he wouldn't ever do anything to harm Hayley, and this has been shown all throughout the series. There was one episode where he even almost got his private parts removed, just to show his love for the Smith's daughter.
Listen, Sinbad, I love my wife. I'm gonna go prove it, and then I'm gonna go home.
I mean, the nice guy meter is pretty much off the charts for Jeff, and his pure, almost juvenile innocence is what makes him our top pick for good. Next on the list is Steve Smith, the Smiths' teenage son who spends most of his time hanging out with his friends.
I am the elf warrior of Galandror.
He's a sweet and very sensitive nerd and the most caring person in the whole family.
Thanks again for hanging out with me today, Dad.
Always doing his best to help.
I found it! The gull-wing door! The last piece to your DeLorean!
And often ending up getting hurt. Steve, like pretty much every boy his age, is completely obsessed with girls and losing his virginity.
Wait! I only have one virginity, Carmen, and I want you to go home with it.
And would do just about anything in the prospect of getting laid, which never happens. Now, truthfully, he also has his bad side as well, but it's usually when Roger is involved. Every time when he goes along on one of Roger's wild adventures, something goes wrong. But I mean, come on, it's usually Roger's fault. Everyone loves the oftentimes innocent Steve, and I'm sure if it wasn't for Roger, he would never get in trouble. Well, maybe that's a bit of a stretch, but Steve is still pretty good in comparison to other characters on the show. Next is Snot, or should I call him Shmuley. Steve's poor best friend. He's always a nice guy to everyone, except on some few occasions where Steve and him get into fights for ridiculous reasons. Oftentimes girls or money. Snot can sometimes be very violent as well, like that one episode where he found out that Steve had been stealing his money because of his energy drink addiction, and he ended up beating him up really badly.
Yeah, we're gonna help you. Help you pee blood!
Snot is also always trying to get way too close to Francine, which of course drives Steve nuts, and even made him try to do the same thing with his mom once. And when Snot isn't after the Smith's mom, he's usually after the daughter, having a deep crush on Hayley since he was a little kid. The truth is, Snot is a bit of a creep, but despite that, one could argue that he's a loyal best friend, usually. He's deeply jealous of his best friend's life, of course, but their friendship is way more important to him, and the series often shows us that. Next up, we have Toshi, Steve's Japanese friend who doesn't speak a word of English. No one ever understands what he's saying, and maybe that's a good thing. That way nobody notices the deep and troubled mind of this character. Have you ever noticed his eyes when he gets upset? They're full of dark and negative energy, and you probably wouldn't want to be in his way when he gets like this. His actions make us wonder at times if Toshi doesn't, in reality, hate Steve and everyone else.
俺の最大の願いを見透かされるとは情けない。
One time, he literally almost killed Steve just because he brought his sister home a bit later than he was supposed to.
妹と日没までに帰るんじゃなかったのか。
Behind his non-intimidating exterior lies a troubled character with many more issues than meet the eye.
What you reading, Chekhov?
俺をスールにしないなんてさ。
His mysterious attitude combined with his anti-American ideologies makes him quite dangerous.
今のうちに笑っとけ。次の時代は俺たちの時代だからな。
But in the end, he may be considered as good or loyal to his close ones in his own kind of way. Returning to the Smith family, next on the list we have Hayley, the ultra-liberal and eco-friendly hippie
Nature can't defend itself, so I will defend nature.
who often works as a polar opposite to her conservative patriotic father. She may seem kind, but there's a lot about her that isn't quite as it should be. Despite now being married to Jeff, she has dated quite a few interesting characters in the past, like her father's exact double from the CIA, or the completely mental CIA director Avery Bullock, or even the evil DJ Iron Monkey, for whom she even dyed her hair blonde just like her mom. Even though she's very pro-nature, environmentally friendly, and a vegetarian, Hayley often contradicts herself.
Are you kidding me?
And ends up doing the things that she's against. She was also revealed to be a sleeper agent for the US government due to Project Daycare, and she's a perfect killing machine. Hayley also makes, like every normal big sister, Steve's life miserable, but you can't really hold that against her too much since it's typical sibling stuff. The next character just couldn't be left off the list. Steve's obese friend, Barry Robinson. Even though he appears to be a little mentally deficient,
Yep, time to take my vitamin. May I have a glass of water?
Barry has a lot more up his sleeves than you'd imagine. Sweet and dumb on the outside,
You and Grenada?
he is truly disturbing on the inside, but usually stays under control with medication, which he likes to refer to as vitamins.
Time for my vitamin. I should run home and get more.
Without those pills, his alter ego, Evil Barry, takes over. His voice changes to a deep and maniacal tone, and his mind gets all twisted and sick.
Yes, lots of things are different now.
In this state, he'll even harm those close to him, or showcase other disturbing behaviors. He even almost killed Stan once.
Huh? Barry, what are you... Where's Francine?
Someplace she can't get between us anymore.
Thankfully for everybody, he is under control during most of the series, and if not for this disturbing alter ego, Barry could have very easily been put closer to the good end of our list. Next in line, we have Francine Smith. And maybe you're wondering why she isn't as close to the good side as you'd expect. She's clearly a full-time, caring, and sweet mother, but underneath all of this is a dark, cruel, and sadistic side of her personality.
Show me again how you do it.
What? I just swat his fanny, like this.
With a past involving drug abuse
How long till it kicks in?
and being a groupie for big rock bands, her dark actions mainly include theft and assault, among other things. And you can witness her disturbing side throughout the series on and off. Like that time when she helped Stan kidnap his half-brother Rusty and his family so they could keep his mansion. Or when she savagely drowned a rare bird just to cook it for Roger, even though she claims to be an animal lover herself. She even tried to murder George Clooney once
George Clooney's head is about to have a big opening weekend.
just because he stole her line in her brief acting career.
Here's your room key, and please.
Francine can go bananas sometimes and often bullies her own kids as well. But she's a good mother when she's not acting crazy. And not too far from the wife is her husband, Stan Smith. He may appear to be the show's hero and good guy, but there's a lot of crazy and disturbing things he's done over the years. Like when we found out that he puts his whole family every year into special CIA goo machines that simulate experiences in real life. So they think they're on vacations and he can have the house to himself.
If we're in here, where's Stan?
Come on, Georgetown! Hoy yes! Hoy yes!
That's an insane level of selfishness. He can also be quite dangerous, and not just in regards to his CIA activity. Stan is pretty much dangerous in all aspects of his life, regardless of what he's doing. Like when a hurricane hit the city, and he, the worst guy at making decisions under pressure...
No, I'll save us! We should open a window and flood this floor!
Decided that instead of evacuating like everyone else, they should all stay inside the house.
Well, I everything-proofed the house. It's sealed against anthrax, radiation, water.
His selfishness can go over the moon sometimes, and he once even did a do-it-yourself style plastic surgery on his own daughter in the basement, just to get out of trouble. Stan's other misdeeds include running a sweatshop in his basement, dressing up as a bully to bully his own son, and kicking all of his neighbors out of their homes for gossiping. At one point in Season 1, he literally locks his neighbors in an internment camp. When Stan finds out that his friend is an atheist, he decides to ruin his life so that the tragedy would bring him closer to God. This included blowing up his house and destroying his family. And then there was also that time that he tricked his wife into thinking that she killed her best friend.
Melinda? Oh my God, what happened?
You killed her.
Stan has some serious problems. But we'll give Stan some credit. He genuinely cares for his family, and despite his stupid, horrible, and ridiculous actions, he oftentimes does them out of misguided love. Stan also shows growth throughout the show, getting over some of his ignorant views. Next up, we have Avery Bullock, the unstable CIA director and Stan's boss for over 25 years now. Bullock has a troubled cocaine addiction and he's always high, which may explain his behavior.
Charlie, listen to me. Charlie! What's your name again?
Despite being an already balding old man, he's highly skilled in hand-to-hand combat. In fact, in one episode, we can see Bullock giving a pretty good fist fight with Stan, and moments later, lifting Jeff with only 2 fingers and hurling him against a wall. Even though his drug problem had something to do with it, he's definitely really strong. Sex appears to be his other weakness, and his weird, kinky exploits are constantly revealed throughout the show. Bullock is completely unpredictable and is dangerous to be around. After developing a relationship with Hayley, Bullock orders Stan to kill her boyfriend, Jeff.
Kill Jeff Fisher.
So he has no issue committing murder or having others kill for him. He also killed another woman that he went on a date with on accident and tried to dispose of the body to cover it up.
One of us will have to bury this body in the woods. Of course, sir. But how do we decide which one of us will... Damn it!
So, Avery might actually be a bit of a sociopath, to say the least. Next up, we have Klaus. The German Olympic skier turned into a goldfish by the CIA. Klaus is a really disturbing character, not only because he's a man inside of a fish's body, but mainly for his personality. We can see his psychotic side throughout the series.
This whole house is going to flood. Tough luck for you dicks who don't have gills.
He often enjoys causing disruption in the family and has a deep obsession with Francine.
I'd do lots of things if I had a human body, because, you know, I'd have a penis.
Everything that he does is for his own personal amusement, and it's somewhat understandable since being a man trapped in a goldfish body must be a really boring way to live. Aside from being selfish, it's often made clear that he has Nazi views and sympathies.
There's an old German saying, don't blame the fish. There are other sayings, but they mostly involve genocide.
Which makes us question who he was prior to being turned into a goldfish. He may be responsible for some serious crimes against humanity, but we can only speculate. Next on the list is Jack Smith. Stan's cold, careless, and cruel father who looks exactly like an old version of his son with an eye patch.
Hello, Stan. Long time no partially see.
He's truly an evil character, always tricking and deceiving his way in life, especially his own family.
Keep your pretty mouth shut and everything'll be Punky Brewster.
He abandoned Stan and his mom when he was a child and reappeared years later. Jack is a big profile criminal, and as so, everything he does is calculated and has a dark meaning behind it, always for his own personal gain. Jack often shows up to the Smiths' house with a crazy plan or illegal scheme, often involving Stan. He's always in and out of jail, but I'm sure that everyone in the family but Stan wishes that he stayed locked up forever. We're now entering the danger area, the top 3 most evil characters in American Dad. which, let's be real, is a bit terrifying given the evil deeds that we've already covered. We'll start with Steve's high school principal, Principal Lewis. He's completely mad and shouldn't be around children at all. Lewis has been in jail several times, is an alcoholic and drug addict, and never misses the opportunity to play with guns or have fun with hookers.
End of days, bitches!
He's constantly messing with his students, and he's for sure the biggest bully in the whole school. Principal Lewis has been hinted as a child predator in an episode once before, where he shows a fascination for young girls.
I'd like you all to give her a warm welcome. Now, I'm not referring to the sexual position, the warm welcome, of which I am the inventor.
And then, in the Rapture episode, he turns into a cannibal freak with no respect for anyone but himself. Twisted, dangerous, disgusting, sick, and somehow a school principal. I wonder how he managed to get the job in the first place. Next up, we have one of the most evil characters in the whole show, Santa Claus. It seems strange that a character beloved by millions of children all around the world could be so high on this list. But there's a motive here. In the series, Santa is a brutal and cruel villain who has a disturbing obsession with the Smith family. This started when Stan was teaching Steve how to use a gun and accidentally shot him. After that, Santa, who was already a sadistic individual, promised revenge on the Smiths.
Damn, we only had until Christmas Day.
Now, every Christmas, the family has to run for their lives, almost as a holiday tradition.
Well, it is the time of year that Santa tries to kill us.
These encounters often result in several deaths, mostly Santa's helpers. American Dad's Santa is truly an awful person who imprisons and tortures his little helpers and doesn't care about anyone but himself. The guy even kidnaps children and forces them to work in the mines of the North Pole. He sure is difficult to kill, having been almost dead several times throughout the series, only to return the next year like some Christmas-themed slasher movie. If this version of Santa was real, I certainly wouldn't want him climbing down my chimney every year. But now comes the final entry on our list, the most evil of all evil. And at this point, I'm sure you already know who I'm talking about. He's immune to fire, he has excellent combat and killing skills, he is a complete drunk and lives in an attic. Yes, I'm talking about Roger Smith, the Smith's goofy alien who loves alcohol and has a destructive temper. Roger is undeniably the master of disguise and manipulation. Even though he's really funny and sometimes even nice, there's a whole disturbing side of him. And the reason for his ranking is his personas. Roger's personality completely changes, depending on who he's depicting at the moment. It's not unusual to see him kill somebody and then 1 hour later become a sweet, innocent little intergalactic angel. It's really disturbing. Amongst his thousands of personas are some really dark ones, like the most evil man in town, Ricky Spanish.
Who is Ricky Spanish?
The worst persona I've ever done.
Roger once killed a full plane of innocent people for $20 and killed another 6 for $19. I think this reflects the real essence of Roger's character. He's a true genius who probably feels bored all the time on this planet. Depending on his persona at the moment, he may put the Smiths in danger, harm someone, or kill, or on the contrary, be friendly and nice. Say what you want about Stan, he learns lessons after his misdeeds. Roger is essentially a hedonistic, self-serving sociopath. He's betrayed every member of the family in some way, and has even threatened to kill them.
You guys watching the news?
How did you know?
Because I'm right behind you.
Maybe it's just the nature of his species, but morality just doesn't work the same way for Roger. He's totally off the charts, earning him our top pick for most evil character on American Dad. Oh man, what do you think? Of all the characters on American Dad, who do you think is the most good and who do you think is the most evil? Also, which cartoon should we feature on Good to Evil next? Let us know in the comment section below. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. But most importantly, stay wicked.